The goal of this video is to make it a little bit easier for you guys to pick which class you're going to be starting with when the game launches. I'm going to cover all classes. We're going to take a look at playstyles and ascensions that they offer. And I'm not going to lie, all of these classes look very unique and fun to play. And by the way, for all the new players, what you need to know is that no matter which class you pick, when it comes to the skill tree, you can move around and pick the skills from the other classes as well. But where the uniqueness really comes from is the ascensions. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you're gonna have all the information you need to decide which class you're gonna pick. If you guys do enjoy the video, and only if you do, drop a like, sub to the channel. I will be uploading a lot of
guys, I'm in the way right now.
2 builds and guides and a lot of information for new players as well. And now let's get right into it. Let's start off with the Witch. This class is an absolutely amazing mix of summoner / necromancer and even sorcerer, and you'll see what I mean by sorcerer here in a minute. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind, guys, is that the minion gameplay and quality of life is on a different level when it comes to this class. You don't have to always resummon your minions. You're not going to have to keep clicking the button every time a minion goes down, for example, because they auto summon. You also have main minions, which are the ones you are going to be summoning yourself. But on top of that, you also are going to have temporary minions, which you get by killing enemies or destroying corpses with your damage skills. All of your summons will have their specific skills. So
it's not that I don't want to play this class, but I played so much Necro and Diablo 4. I may get around to playing this class. That way I have like a good comparison between the two. But I've already played the minion class, so I kind of wanted to just try something else.
Some of them will shoot
but it looks
arrows
good.
That will leave poison clouds, or you can choose to make your minions explode and deal damage that way. With all of these things combined, imagine just running around with a huge army of minions. On top of that, these guys are not your regular dumb minions. These
it's a different experience in this, though.
High IQ, intelligent minions, literally straight out of Harvard, which means they can open doors, boxes, and so on. One of the coolest things about—
Wait, what did he just say? What was that right there? Did I just hear that correctly?
The huge army of minions. On top of that, these guys are not your regular dumb minions. These are extremely high IQ, intelligent minions, literally straight out of Harvard, which means they can open doors, boxes, and so on. One of the coolest things, by the way, about the Witch is the fact that you can turn your enemies into your minions.
Oh, Les, did you just hear that? The minions can open things, open doors, open boxes. I think they just get your loot for you.
Pretty fun, actually.
Well, it's like auto playing. You just have to just summon all the time. Or you don't even have to summon. It auto summons. It auto summons.
And this applies to some crazy kind of enemies as well. So imagine this. You find a really cool monster. You take him out. You love the skills that it was doing when it comes to damage, animation, whatever it is. Boom. Next thing you know, it's your minion. And now it's dealing all of those skills to other enemies. That alone, I'm not gonna lie, when I heard that one, I was like, okay, I'm playing the Witch. Like, that's it.
Less.
That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty crazy, actually.
Holy shit. You could take a minion, something that you fought, and make it your minion. It's like Power World without the balls. Dude, that's nuts. There's no way you could do a boss. But imagine if you could find something that's like an elite or something that's just as strong as a boss. Or maybe there's like a boss that's coded, because you know how this happens. I'm not saying, I'm speaking from a Destiny perspective. But imagine if we found a boss that's coded as like an elite or something, and you could take that boss, and that becomes your minion.
The Sisters in King's Fall, imagine.
That's crazy, man. That's wild. I kind of want... Oh, man, they all look good. They all look good, man.
Now, all of that said, where the Witch is really going to pick up...
Solo leveling Arise.
So let's talk about Ascension. You're going to have 2 options. Infernal is the fire / minion playstyle. You can summon a Hellhound, for example, which gives the ability to burn...
Okay, so I'm like blocking things right now. Hold on, let me move me out the way. I just want to make sure you guys can see everything.
Ascension. You're going to have 2 options. Infernal is the fire / minion playstyle. You can summon a Hellhound, for example, which gives the ability to burn enemies on attack. And it's also going to take 20% of damage instead of you, which means more survivability. You can also turn into a demon. You will be able to deal way more damage, but your HP drains. So you'd want to create a more high HP build so that you can stay alive, right? The other option is the Blood Mage. You're going to have quite a few playstyles here. Every time you kill enemies, they will drop blood orbs. These orbs can overfill your HP to double, which is nuts. So if you had 2000 HP, now you have 4,000 HP. And the cool thing about this is that it's tied to your critical hit damage, because the higher HP you're gonna have,
look at that, leeches
the higher
life.
your crit damage is gonna be. You can also build into lifesteal on the Blood Mage. So overall, you can create some awesome builds with this Ascension. I'm not gonna lie, if you enjoy Summoner / Necromancer style classes and builds, I don't think there is anything to not like here. And think about it, guys. When we actually get to the end game, there's probably so many things that we have no clue about that can completely change these builds and make them 10 times better. Just the fact that you can run.
You watched this already? I didn't watch this already, Jelly. No, this is the first time we've watched Mr. Pips. Also, I know some of this is like maybe common knowledge to my Path of Exile players that have played Path for a long time. But for somebody like me, I mean, it's, again, a big decision right now is going to be which class should I play?
Around as a witch, have all of these summons, and at the same time deal insane looking fire damage is something that I really want to try. So if that's what you're looking for, then this is the class for you. Next up on the list is the Ranger. Now, if you're looking for insane mobility, cool jump skills, good ad clear, and pretty good single target damage, this is going to be the class for you. You're going to have two main sources of damage: lightning skills that will have amazing clearing potential and most likely really good speed clearing potential as well, or the poison builds. I personally think that both of these look really cool, and that movement is gonna come in handy a lot, especially if you're fighting bosses. Just think about it. Movement like that, once mastered, means more survivability, right? Also, remember, you can use your freeze skills on bosses and
Probably
actually
really good for
freeze
solo.
them and then destroy them with some high DPS. The lightning attacks can also go absolutely crazy when it comes to chaining attacks. And when it comes to poison, you can even create like poison traps or clouds or whatever you want to call them around the enemies and deal a lot of damage. Obviously, there's going to be tons of more different things when you get to the end game when it comes to skills. But now let's take a look at the ascensions. The first one is Deadeye. This is essentially just going to better everything that you do on the Ranger. You'll be shooting more arrows with more accuracy, and you're going to do all of that faster as well, which is most likely going to be insane with lightning skills, because imagine all the area of effect damage and boom, you go crazy.
Les, you're gonna do Ranger or you're gonna do Merc? Because Ranger,
Monk.
okay, Ranger looks pretty good. I mean, I'm looking at, especially like the traps that he can put down, looks pretty solid.
I feel like in every type of game like that, the Ranger always starts off really slow, but then picks up literally end game. Like that's what I've noticed with like Diablo. Like when you play like the Ranger class, it's like slow in the beginning, but then it picks up at the end game.
Gotcha.
Some insane damage and just chain everything. Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. It is actually so cool that the game is around the corner, because imagine if it was like 3-4 months away with all the information we have right now. That would honestly not be fun. The next one is the Pathfinder Ascension. This is going to be for all the players that want to go the poison route, as it will make all of the poison effects much more deadlier, pretty much. Like that's the goal of this ascension. It also gains access to crazy speed while in combat, which makes it very, very unique in my opinion, because you're pretty much going to be moving at full speed while you're shooting your arrows. And then think about it. You're just zooming around the map while dropping these poison traps, dealing poison damage.
That's really
AoE
nice,
damage,
man.
Good single target damage. And yet, thanks to the speed that the class has, you're going to be avoiding a lot of damage, which obviously means a lot of survivability, right? So if you're looking for a high mobility class and you really enjoy bow gameplay with some flashy lightning skills, setting traps and poisoning your enemies,
It's appealing to watch.
then this class is for you.
I gotta say about the Ranger here, guys, it just looks nice to like. I wonder for people, because we have some people saying they don't like the isometric like ARPG look there, like Diablo, like Path of Exile, but this looks appealing to watch. My concern is, because I'm leaning toward Warrior, my concern is that won't be as visually appealing for you guys. Like that looks really good right there. Like that entire sequence, the back up there, the shooting the arrows, it just looks nice. Looks nice.
Mobility class, and you really enjoy bow gameplay with some flashy lightning skills, setting traps and poisoning your enemies, well, then this class is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the Monk. This is a fast-paced elemental damage class. The animations look absolutely stunning. The first time I saw that clip where he just starts teleporting to enemies back and forth like an absolute madman, that was crazy. The animations just look overall so clean in this game. You know what I mean? The speed clear potential is very high, but the ascension is where Monk gets very, very interesting. The first ascension we're going to take a look at is the Invoker. This is going to be the one you pick if you want to focus on more elemental damage. For example, you can create waves of elemental damage every time you land a critical hit. Now think about this. You just build into your critical hit.
Straight up Avatar, everybody.
You're going to be spamming these waves all the time, which once again is gonna make it very, very good for speed clearing in general. Another option you'll have is to double your energy shield, which essentially means that you're gonna have amazing survivability. And when you combine this with the speed as well, yeah, these two together are always a very strong combo, no matter what class you're playing. But that's not all. Depending on which elemental damage you enjoy more, you can also pick one and specialize in that specific element. Or maybe you just want to turn into an avatar, which means that every time you apply a status effect to your enemy, you'll gain Unbound Fury. And yes, you guessed it, Unbound Fury will give you the ability to deal some insane damage. The second ascension is the Acolyte of Chayula, which changes your spirit meter with a darkness meter. That alone sounds pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. So thanks to the darkness,
the thing behind me right now.
Take way less damage from the enemies or deal more damage. And you're also gonna have options when it comes to specialization. So if you're looking for a fast melee DPS class that has some amazing combos and is very good at clearing, and on top you can build it so that you got tons of survivability, this is going to be the class for you. Another way to kind of explain this class for me personally would be to imagine a warrior class, but with just faster combat in general. Okay, here we go. Now let's talk about the Sorcerer, and this one is kind of cracked. This is probably the craziest class when it comes to Ascension, and we will get to that here in a minute. The Sorcerer offers really high damage, incredible clear potential, really flashy skills as well. The animations look so clean on the Sorcerer. You can create firewalls and then shoot through the fire with your lightning skills, and now your lightning damage will deal more damage, and you can actually see how they light up. In order to really appreciate the class, we got to jump into the Ascension though. So let's go ahead and start off with the first choice, which is going to be the Stormweaver. This is your elemental specialist, and what that means is, for example, every time you get a critical hit with your spells, you will trigger elemental storms. Now imagine the cool builds you can create, right? How insane
oh my god
potential
like what
is,
would it
because if
I would assume you could do like everything high, increasing your crit hit chance, which means you're constantly going to be proccing that. But they all look cracked. Let me just say all the classes look cracked. I'd say Sorcerer made it looks like the most potent one in terms of ad clear. I don't know how single target damage is, but in terms of just like clearing out a whole room with like very little movement, literally just like lay down spells, let it do its thing, it looks really good.
You keep hitting those critical hits with your spells, you're going to be seeing these all over the place.
Cross your party needs to take all elements. Oh, well, how do we do? Well, I've got a party of 3 today. It's myself, Les, and Fraba. I guess if you're monk, you're doing all 3, or you're doing 3 elemental types.
Place, and also think about how cool the single target damage can be as well. But the true craziness begins with the next ascension, and that's the Chronomancer. You can literally stop time, guys. This is not a joke, by the way. Everything freezes while you destroy them with some of the flashiest skills in the game. But that's just the beginning. You can teleport to the location you were a few seconds ago. That kind of sounds wild. And this resets your HP and mana to what it was. Or you can just choose to use a skill called Time Snap, which will reset all your cooldowns. Yeah, just as simple as that.
What is that? What is that? There's another class, like another class in another game. It's not unique to Path of Exile. Les, what was there? Where am I getting that from? What game was it where you could it was a class that you can rewind time, or maybe it was just an ability on a character? There was one in particular because you could reset your abilities. Maybe it was was it Dragon's Dogma? The Dragon's Dogma, did we have that? Remnant 2, Les. Remnant 2. The invasion class. You remember?
That can stop time?
Well, no, it had a rewind feature where you can you made like a chat. What was it? You made like a clone of yourself, and then you could do all your abilities, and then you could rewind.
This class looks next level, and the funny thing is that even the devs have said that this was one of the class they were most afraid of because they thought it would break the game. Because, you know, every time you try to mess around with time, even if you look at movies, it usually doesn't go that well. And I guarantee you there will be so many crazy builds we will see on the Chronomancer. It's going to be wild. Think about it. The fact that you can reset your cooldowns, that alone is going to be so interesting, especially
like equivalent to like a self-res warlock in Destiny. Hence why we've never gotten it back. What if we get that back? Actually, that could be. But even wants to hype up another expansion. Imagine if they brought back, unless you think they would ever do it, self-res warlocks.
Maybe, but there had to be like a tie to it. Like they're not going to just bring it back the way it was.
God, it broke so many mechanics though. So many mechanics.
For high DPS builds and damage
Stasis
builds
was technically frozen
so if
time.
you're looking for a class
Actually,
with
though,
very
yeah.
fun combat, high damage, but keep in mind this class most likely will be squishier than others. One more thing I do want to mention about the Sorcerer is that it does look like a class that will highly reward skilled players, which means if you put in the time and master the class, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Next on the list is the Mercenary. Let's say ARPGs aren't the only genre you enjoy, right? Maybe you enjoy first or third person shooters just because of the feel in terms of combat. In that case, Mercenary is most likely something that you're gonna enjoy a lot. But a good feeling class isn't necessarily enough for many players out there. It also has to perform really well, especially when it comes to endgame.
Mercenary
so let's
looks
break
so
down
good.
what this class can offer. If you want to feel like Van Helsing on steroids,
Yeah,
pay
look at
attention.
that.
You're gonna have different options when it comes to dealing
Got the
damage
freeze
with your
too.
crossbow. Shotgun style, AR style, or even sniper style. All of these options create awesome tools depending on what kind of combat you're in. Are you fighting a lot of enemies? In that case, shotgun might be the key. Or if you're fighting a boss and you're trying to stay at range, you're probably better off going sniper. That said, you also have a grenade launcher that comes with your crossbow. And it's kind of crazy to say this when we're talking about like a mercenary dude running around with a crossbow and out of nowhere, he just pulls out a grenade launcher and just absolutely demolishes you. But yeah, that's happening, which gives you the option to do incredible boss damage, by the way, because the burst damage is really high on this. You can also freeze, slow, and burn enemies with different types of grenades. The combos you can do is kind of crazy. Now let's talk about the Ascension. The first one is going to be Obsessive Rituals. With this one, you can get a skill that gives you a 10% chance to explode enemies on death and deal 100% of their HP as damage, or even crazier than that, go for Decimating Strike. Listen to this. This one has a chance to deal 30% damage on initial hits, even on bosses. And that sounds crazy. Now imagine you have a bunch of mercenaries and they all proc this on a boss. It will probably just get deleted. We don't exactly know how that's going to work, but that is just one of those things that if it does work,
dude, that would be wild.
The second
Oh, there's no way they're gonna let that happen though, right? You hear what he said, Les?
Yeah.
If you had,
I've seen the whole thing.
if you have multiple mercenaries, potentially if it all procs, you could, I mean, I guess you could instantly wipe a boss. It doesn't work unless the health is 100%. What if everyone shoots at the same exact time? I guess the time would have to be perfect though. And if it registers one attack before the other, then that's it.
Now imagine you have a bunch of mercenaries and they all proc this on a boss. It will probably
Good luck
just
with
get
that.
deleted. We don't exactly know how that's going to work, but that is just one of those things that if it does work,
Early access,
bosses are
man.
in trouble. The second
Good.
ascension is Gemlin Legionnaire. This one is mostly focused on making everything involving gems just better. For example, you can get 3 additional skill slots. You can also go for really high resistances as well, or straight up increase the quality of your gems. All of these things combined will give you a lot of insane build crafting options to create an incredible long.
So increasing the gem, so increasing the skills that you have, but also the skill crossover. It's like the skill gems that you acquire from other classes. So maybe this ascension, would it be the best if you're trying to do like a blend of everything, or a blend of other skills?
Long-range class with high burst damage and add clear as well. And on top of that, don't forget, it feels like you're playing a first-person shooter, right? So if that's what you enjoy, you're gonna have a great time. One of the coolest things for me personally is the fact that you can have options at any range, man. Shotgun, sniper, AR, which means you can succeed in any environment, right? It doesn't tie you down to a specific style of combat, and that's really nice. You get to pick the range you want to fight at, and at all of these ranges, you're gonna have strong options. Not many classes can really offer that. So it's definitely a unique class, both mechanically and playstyle wise. So if you want a class that is very responsive, has incredible burst damage, then Van Helsing on insane amounts of steroids, jacked out of his mind, is for you. And finally, let's talk about the Warrior. This class is all about slamming things and feeling like the Hulk. You can deal huge areas of damage. With the Warrior, you're going to be using your shield.
Look, it sounds so basic, and I don't know why I end up going with this is probably what we're going to be playing. But the Ascension is Titan, guys. Okay, so I mean, it literally... we have to play it. I have to play it
a lot as well. So if you, and this is going to be like the closest thing to sword and shield kind of feeling tanks in other games or MMOs, for example, in general. With the shield, you do have directional blocking, and you're pretty much blocking all incoming damage until your stun meter fills up. And after that, it is going to break and you're going to be in trouble. Now, I'm assuming that there is going to be ways to increase the stun meter or make it so that the enemy hits will charge up this stun meter slower so that you can block more incoming damage. Let's talk about the Ascensions. The Warbringer is the first one. This one allows you to call in spirits and empower totems, similar to what the Monk can do when he calls in the bells and starts hitting them. But obviously this one functions a little bit differently. You're not hitting them, the totems just spawn and they deal damage in a big area. It does look like it also stuns and pushes the enemies back as well, which is really cool. You can also pretty much ignore any Warcry cooldowns, which is very nice, or pick a skill called Jade Heritage, which will let you tank some very high incoming damage. That's why I said this is like the closest thing you'll get to an actual feeling of a tank character. And the next Ascension is the Titan. The first skill we are going to take a look at is Earthbreaker. This gives you a 20% chance for your slams to create aftershocks. And the cool thing on the Warrior is if you go all into stunning enemies, which you can do with your shield, by the way, a lot of the time, there is a skill that gives you 40% more damage against heavy stunned enemies. And you can imagine how cool the builds can be when it comes to all of these stuns. Obviously, on the passive skill tree, you can use some keystones to get the ability to dual wield some weapons instead of the shield and go crazy on damage even more, but that's going to be completely up to you. That said, if you're looking for a melee class that has the ability to face tank a lot and deal a lot of damage at the same time, the Warrior is for you. And that's going to be it, guys.
All right. And look, I think we're still going to play Warrior. My only concern with it is like, I don't want to be in a situation where, yes, we can tank a lot, but like say less and Frostbolt get off and I'm like playing solo. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm gonna be just this tank but takes forever to kill enemies, you know what I mean? It seems like the Ascension Titan picks up the offensive capabilities, so we'll see. Yeah, I don't want no 40-minute, hour-long fights, whatever.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.